Welcome back everybody, and I'm here with Stuart today from Outdoor Basics, and what we're going to talk about is 5 tips for prepping. So then we've broken down these 5 tips into something what I call FSNAP, and the first F then is fitness. Now clearly if something's gone wrong and you've had to bug out, if you've had to just move location, anything like that, if you're not relatively physically fit, then things are going to go pear-shaped, okay? So you'll need to be able to put on your bug out bag or your rucksack or whatever kit you've got. You may need to have to deal with a casualty. You may need to have to, you know, change a tyre on a vehicle. Whatever you need to do is it's going to require some sort of physical fitness. And if you haven't got that in the first place, if you don't maintain some sort of physical fitness, then it's going to cause you issues. So, any points on that, Stuart?
So, kind of in the real world, outside of YouTube land and that, I run gyms, I run martial arts gyms, that's what I do. And physical fitness is one of those things that I think, especially within the prepper community, people can think back to how they were maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Oh yeah, I'm physically fit, and they're just not. And if you're looking at emotional stress, you may be injured, you may be with people that are injured, your fitness is going to go down. They always say, like for combat athletes, something that I've heard banding around before, you know, if you want to be 100% fit to fight, you need to be 125% fit, because when the action starts and the chaos starts, kind of 25% of your fitness is going to drop off. And that's definitely something to consider within prepping, especially for people that think they're going to bug out. If bugging out is something that you think you're going to do, the amount of weight that you would need to lift and shift over a set distance is really going to take a toll on you very, very quickly. So getting your fitness in order has to be a #1 priority, realistically. And it's not just you. Most days I've got, you know, partners, children, all these sort of things to think about. How is their physical fitness? It doesn't need to be anything mad. Just maybe get out, get involved in some sports, join a local gym, get a personal trainer. There's all these apps and other things that you can download now to kind of get you started on that path of physical fitness. The old classic fit to fight, I think is something that has to be made essential. Yeah,
cool. Right, so some good points there from Stuart. Okay, next thing then, so going back onto the acronym then, FSNAP. So the next one is S, which is skills. Okay, now a lot of people within the prepper community, all they seem to, well, from what I've seen anyway, a lot of people just seem to concentrate on kit. So they're thinking about bug out bags, knives, big cars with, you know, like all your stuff impact in the back and all that, which is fine, but without firstly fitness and without any skills, all those things become pretty much useless, don't they? So when I'm saying skills, I'm talking about personal skills. So things like first aid training, being able to respond to a casualty, to be able to treat a casualty, save a life or save your own life. Navigation, if you can't get yourself from point A to point B, especially if you're in something like a grid down scenario where you've got no satellites for your GPS to work off, or if your phone's run out of battery, that sort of thing, you need to be able to use the basics and be able to navigate to get from point A to point B. Also, just personal fieldcraft and survival skills. Yeah. Again, that's the sort of thing you can develop by maybe going on courses and stuff. If you haven't got that, you know, that experience, maybe go and try and get some of that experience to learn.
It's harder than people think it's going to be.
Exactly, yeah. Live out of a Bergen, try and do that for a couple of days. If you haven't done that, if you haven't got the experience to do that, then get the skills, go on courses, or just go out and try it for yourself out in the woods. Yeah.
I think when it comes to the skills, like there's the old classic, seek knowledge. There's loads of people like Tom and other courses and instructors. There's YouTube, there's all these other, Ronan the dog, there's all these other kind of means that we have to get the skills before we actually need them. Another thing, have the stark ability to look at yourself and say realistically, where is my skill set? People think that maybe aim up too high with their own skill set, and they think maybe, you know, if they were in the TA a long time ago or whatever, they think they've got the skills for back then, and they don't train. Map reading is most definitely a perishable skill.
Absolutely, yeah.
These sort of skills, you need to get on top of it and stay on top of your skill set. Don't just think you've got it in the bag. keep working at it, keep working at it, keep working at it, especially with perishable things like first aid knowledge, map reading skills, you know, the ability to know what kit you're going to take and pack and all that sort of stuff. Stay on top of it.
Yeah, really good point there about perishable skills, specifically things like navigation and also first aid skills. You know, if you haven't practiced them for a while, if you've done a med course, you know, back 20 years ago, you ain't going to be able to remember half the stuff. And also things develop and evolve over years as well.
Your kit gets better, and like I know we're not kind of knocking having kit, not at all. We're saying have the skill sets to match the kit that you have.
Absolutely,
and don't think because you've bought the world's fanciest, best trauma kit, you know, it's full of HENCON and quick clot and all these. If you haven't trained to use any of that, you shouldn't have that.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's useless for you to have that.
Yeah.
So train for the kit that you have, and get on top of those skills to the best of your ability.
Okay, bang on. So next letter then we're going to cover is N, which is networking. Now, this is something I think a lot of people do quite well.
Yeah.
Not quite so well in the UK here than people can do in other parts of the world, like in the USA, they're really good at it. But if you network with a group of other people, like-minded people, you can share your different strengths. So, you know, you might have some sort of defensive area or something, or you may have a really good vehicle, or you might have certain skills. But then other people could lend their, you know, skill sets or their whatever resources they've got.
I think skill sharing's a massive thing.
When you come back together as a network, you know, and you need to pre-do this. You can't do it on the day because when stuff happens on the day, everyone's going to be running to the hills, and you know you won't know what's going on. But if you've pre-done this, if you've networked with other people with, you know, various skill sets and other things, like-minded people, then that's going to help you on the day of the races, isn't it?
I think it as well inside the networking. Is looking back at skills, getting out together. If you are thinking about bugging out, or you are thinking about prepping in like a sort of closed community type scenario,
yeah,
you're going to need to know these people. Anybody that spent any time in the military, 5 days under a bivvy, and you know what I mean, emotions are going to start running high.
Yeah. People
are going to start grating on each other a wee bit, and how do you know that you actually want to be in a prepping scenario with these people if you haven't trained with these people? So when we're networking, make sure that we're developing our skill sets and cross skills, and that this is definitely the group of people that you want to be with. Should you need to do that, you know, like whether we're making our way down an extraction line or whatever, going from point A to point B, linking up with people as we're moving, these are all things that should be worked out way in advance, and it all kind of goes hand in hand together. Yeah,
awesome. Okay, on to the next one. A is the A. And this actually links into what Stu was just saying there. This is actions on. So that's a bit of a military terminology.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about when we say actions on is what are you going to do? So what you do in a set of military orders, you have a thing called actions on, and basically it's what if. So what if this happens? What am I going to do? Now there's a military saying that, you know, no plan survives first contact with the enemy, but you need to have a plan in the first place, because if you don't have a plan, first thing that happens, you're just going to panic, run around like a headless chicken and not be able to respond to whatever happens.
You can always work your plan.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's the classic, innit? A man without a plan will be subject to a man who has one.
Yep.
And if your plan will evolve and change as you go along, but if you just think you're going to crack it on the day, the old favourite, no cuff too tough.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going to work.
So basically, yeah, have a set of actions on, a set of considerations for things that you can base on what you perceive as threats, okay? So that could just be running out of water, couldn't it? It could be a vehicle breaking down, it could be getting a casualty, it could be one of a whole load of things. But you need to work out what you're going to do in reaction to one of those incidents happening. And as Stuart says, and as I mentioned as well, if it doesn't work out like you want it to, at least you've got a plan that you can maybe adapt and then move around that problem and then move on from there. Because if you've just got no preconceived idea about what you're going to do, then you're screwed from minute one, basically.
I think as well, trying to base your actions on world events kind of stops you becoming too hyper-focused and paranoid on one thing, because that can happen with people. Like, guys think this is definitely the thing that's going to happen. But if you're continually evolving your plan, your actions on against world events, what's most likely to cause you to have to be in a prepared scenario? It doesn't always mean the Russians are parachuting in for the sky. It could just be, you know, over the last few summers there's been a bad drought, so you should preempt by having a certain amount of water in play and stuff like that, and means to purify water. So it doesn't always necessarily mean one set thing. Your actions on will change and develop depending on what you're doing.
Okay, so then brings us to the last one then, which is P, which is personal skills. Okay, so we've covered skills, which is going to be your technical stuff like medical training, navigation, survival, maybe vehicle recovery, that sort of thing. But the personal skills then is putting all this together along with your fitness and your actions on, all bringing it all together and then getting out there and practicing what you preach basically.
Yeah.
So not just saying, yeah, I've got a bag here, I can take it out for a couple of days, I'll be all right in theory. Actually doing it in practice, getting out there with a group of like-minded people, if you're going to use that networking as well, which you should be doing, getting out there, practicing, putting your fitness to test, putting your skills to test, things like your navigation, and do it in harsh conditions as well. Don't just do it on a nice sunny day, get out there in tough conditions and practice things that you might not want to do, but it's going to help you prepare for the worst, which is what prepping's all about, yeah?
I think that's a massive one. Do you know what I mean? Because sure as eggs, it will go when the weather is at its worst. You're at your tiredest. It will never be the way you want it to be. And if you get used to kind of having to push through and do things because you've said you're going to do them, and it's not a wish list, it's a, I have to get this amount of skills training in this month. I'm going away this weekend, it doesn't matter what the weather is, and I'm going to put X amount of training in. Well, it's happening. It doesn't matter if it's raining or it's snowing or whatever happens, we're putting that training in. And having the commitment to stay on top of things like your fitness. It's all right when you're a bit motivated, but that'll ebb and flow. Being dedicated to the fact that you need to stay on top of your physical fitness, you need to stay on top of your personal skills, will make the difference. Everybody's survivability will go up, and it's a complete mindset shift into doing what has to be done and not necessarily what you want to do. It's just a different place to take it.
So be comfortable with being uncomfortable is one of the things you can think about. So that's us washed up then, that's us finished there talking about it. So that was the 5 things that we've talked about there. So the FSNAP, and that's all the different headings there. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anything that you'd add to that list? Anything you'd take out? Any comments? Any suggestions? You know, anything that you guys practice? Anything else to add there?
That's awesome, mate. Just kind of considerations to, if you're thinking about it and acting, don't just think, act out things and start to put it into play. You're already on to a winner, you're already starting to go in the right direction.
Okay, so stay prepared and
see you in the next one.
Cheers.